Twilight sat down and explained the situation to Spike, from when she was bit to her most recent nightmare. At first, Spike refused to believe it, but it was painfully clear what had happened to her. The appearance, her attitude, and the fact that he was almost killed. Spike began to break down into tears. Twilight tried comforting the purple dragon, but he flinched every time she got close to him. But I don't understand. Why didn't you tell the doctors about this? Because Mine said there was no cure. I thought it was just a simple case of mental tampering. But as soon as I found out it was more than that, its structure isn't based on chemicals. It's structured by magic. That's why my memory spells didn't work. By the time I cast it on a rainbow, it was already in my body. Spike looked up at Twilight, anger mixed with grief in his eyes. He had already lost 5 of his closest friends, and now he was going to lose a 6th. But it meant more to him than that. Spike loved Twilight like his big sister. She was always there for him since he was just an egg. And now, she was going to suffer the same fate as Rainbow. A fate, a never-ending suffering, pain, and torture. What are you going to do? Twilight briefly paused before standing up and holding her head up high. She stomped her hoof in anger, taking a deep breath as she planned her speech. I'm going to find whoever did this to us, to my friends, and take them down. I'll avenge my friend's death, and I'll end this nightmare. And I won't stop until it's finished, once and for all. Spike smiled. His spirit lifted. Twilight's courage was still strong in her heart. Despite her torture, her loss, and the never-ending grief, nothing was going to stop her. Twilight turned to look at the purple dragon, her face showing determination, but yet terrible fatigue. But I'll need your help, Spike. You're the only one I can trust. Can you forgive Twitch? Twilight paused as she felt her muscles spasm. She felt a familiar warm rush engulf her. She was then startled by a truly gruesome image flashing in her mind. Twitch. Twilight groaned in pain as her energy was instantly drained from her body. She went pale, and her legs began to shake before they collapsed beneath her. Twilight hit the floor hard. Her head was throbbing due to the lack of food, water, and sleep. Spike jumped off the sofa, but he was too frightened to step any closer. Twilight, what do I do? Twilight was rolling on the floor in agony, holding her head in her hooves, trying to fight the monster, tearing holes in the fabric of her sanity. She looked at Spike, trying not to scream. The pills! Quick! The pills! As quickly as he could, Spike grabbed the same bag as before and threw it to Twilight, keeping his distance, accidentally hitting her on the nose. Twilight froze. Her eyes then turned into the dark, bloodshot orbs that Spike remembered seeing, just as he was seconds from death. The possessed unicorn growled, breathing through her nose, slowly standing up to face Spike. Twilight? Snap out of it! Hush now. Quiet now. Lay your sleepy head. Oh, no. Please. It's me. Spike! Twilight slowly trotted forward, closing the gap towards Spike and herself. Her grin slowly getting wider and wider. Spike could feel sweat pooling down his forehead as he desperately looked for a way out of the library. Twilight's laughter echoed throughout the walls before she stopped. Spike's heart skipped a beat as Twilight's crazed grin receded into a menacing scowl. The pony began to shake as she grabbed Spike by the shoulders before slowly lifting him into the air. But please, it's me. Stop it! Spike tried to squirm out of her grasp, but he could barely move. As Twilight's grip grew firmer, she was beginning to whimper. Spike could see Twilight, desperately trying to control herself. Spike could feel her muscles tense under her body, her hooves loosening around his shoulder, and then tightening again. Get out! What? Twilight dropped Spike to the ground. The purple unicorn then recoiled in horror, and she started to whimper hysterically, clumsily knocking books and plants over. She then firmly grasped her head as her left eye returned to its ordinary color, but her right still had a rich blood red. Get out! Get out! Get out now! Get out! Spike firmly closed his eyes and ran for the door, listening to the screaming and crashing behind him. Twilight's screams pierced his senses as he ran out of the large red door. He quickly slammed the door shut and turned around. As he sighed in relief, he opened his eyes to see a bunch of ponies staring at him. What in the hay's going on? One of the worried ponies shouted. What's all that screaming about? Spike panicked. He had to think fast. He knew Twilight would be in serious trouble if word got out that she was losing it. She's had a nightmare. Another one of the ponies walked forward towards the door. Spike soon blocked her path. He wanted to tell them that it wasn't going to help. He was going to lose Twilight if he wasn't careful. Having her sent to a mental institute would be the last nail in the coffin. She just wants to be alone. She sounds terrible. I'm going to talk to her. No! What? Why not? Spike paused, staring into the glaring eyes looking back at him. His mouth went dry, as a loud thud was heard inside, before a deathly silence swept across the landscape. Spike stepped forward and crossed his arms, feeling relieved as he thought of an explanation. She's just lost 5 of her best friends. All in a week, and she wants to be left alone right now. I'm sorry for the racket, but she's in a lot of pain. I'm sure you can appreciate that. The ponies looked at each other before turning away, feeling guilty about sticking their noses in. One turned to look at Spike. We're sorry. We just thought she was in trouble. Thank you for your concern. As the crowd of ponies walked away, Spike looked back, worried for Twilight, but he didn't want to go back after he was told to get out. He then quickly ran across the street, soon making his way to the Cake's house. He knocked on the door, soon opened by Mrs. Cake, holding her young foal in her hooves. Spike? My word, what are you doing up at this time? I'm sorry, it's just... Do you have a place I can sleep tonight?